If you spend more than 5 minutes on Instagram or TikTok, you will see the aesthetic reels. A guy with a MacBook on a beach sipping coconut, sunset in the background, and the caption, living the best life. It looks great, right? But that's a total lie. Being a digital nomad isn't just working from a beach. It's basically being a professional problem solver who happens to have a laptop and a chronic burnout. Today, we are deep diving into an absolute grind of the nomadic life. The fourth point will totally surprise you. First off, let's talk about freedom to travel. Where is freedom when you are staring at a governmental portal in a language you don't speak, trying to figure out if your tourist visa allows you to actually work? The digital nomad visa trend is being hyped up by governments like it's a gift to humanity. But for the nomad, it's a bureaucracy nightmare. You aren't just traveling, you're navigating a minefield of immigration laws. One wrong move, one expired stamp, and suddenly you are facing a deportation or a massive fine. Think about it. You want to stay in Portugal? Enjoy the 30-page application process and the proof of income requirements that makes you feel like you're applying for a mortgage. You want to go to Thailand? Good luck with the changing regulations of the LTR visas. It's not freedom, it's being a permanent resident of an immigration office. Here's the part that no influencer tells you about because you can't take a selfie with a tax form. Taxes. If you're an American citizen, the IRS follows you everywhere. Same goes for citizens of many European countries and their taxation offices. They don't care if you're in a cafe in Medellin or a hut in Fiji. They want their cut. And it gets messy. You start dealing with tax residency issues. If you stay in a country too long, suddenly that country thinks you owe them income tax. Now you're caught in a tug of war between two different governments, both claiming they own your hard-earned money. According to various tax studies, the complexity of international tax compliance for remote workers can increase administrative costs by up to 30% compared to domestic workers. You aren't just working, you're essentially running a mini multinational corporation all by yourself. We call it a remote work, but let's be real, it's actually Wi-Fi dependency syndrome. The moment you sit down in a cool cafe in a developing nation, the first thing you do isn't looking at the menu, it's checking the signal strength. You spend half of your life hunting for stable internet like a scavenger in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Have you ever been in the middle of a high-stakes Zoom call with a client and suddenly the power goes out in the entire neighborhood? Or worse, the high-speed fiber optic you are promised turns out to be worse than a dial-up modem. That's not working from paradise, that's working on the edge of a nervous breakdown. The eSIMs have massively improved this problem, but still there is more to be desired. If we were famous already, this is where the sponsor could bright. Oh well, maybe in a few months. This is the deep emotional part. On the internet, you see the parties in the hostels and the community vibe, but it's a facade. Digital nomadism is inherently transient. You meet people, you vibe, you grab a drinks, and then poof. They fly to Vietnam, you go to Mexico, you have no roots. Your social circle becomes a revolving door of temporary friends. You can't build deep, meaningful, long-term connections when everybody is planning their exit strategy for next Tuesday. It's lonely. It's a cycle of constant goodbyes that eventually starts to numb you. The traditional office workers definitely win this round. It is far easier to make real connections in an office. People think being a nomad is cheap. Oh, look at him, he's living in Southeast Asia, it should be so affordable. Wrong. Yes, it might be cheaper in comparison to your country, especially if you are coming from Norway or the USA, but there is an invisible nomad tax. Because you are not local, you cannot access the local economy like a resident can. You can't rent a long-term apartment for a steal. You have to book Airbnbs or co-living spaces, which are priced for tourists. When you calculate the cost of short-term rentals, co-working memberships, and the constant convenience fees for being a tourist, your low-cost living disappears faster than a crypto scam. You aren't saving money. You are just paying a premium to be a permanent stranger. Humans are creatures of habit. We thrive on routine, but the digital nomad lifestyle is the literal antithesis of routine. Every time you move, your entire life has to be packed into a backpack or a suitcase. You have to find a new gym, a new grocery store, a new way to get around, a new laundry service. Your office changes every few weeks. This constant reestablishing of your basic survival needs drains your cognitive load. Instead of focusing on your actual work, your coding, writing, designing, you're spending all your mental energy figuring out how the trash collection works in your new neighborhood or how to navigate a local bus system. It's decision fatigue or steroids. At least it has a bit of a bright side too. Scientists are saying that this constant friction keeps your brain healthy. This is where freedom really starts to feel like a prison for a digital nomad. I used to live in Mexico and I had European clients. This means 7-8 hours in difference. That translates into video calls in 2-3 a.m. The shit can even get worse if you are in Asia and you have to deal with people in the USA. This destroys your circadian rhythm and makes social integration in your host country almost impossible. You became a ghost in your own location, a nocturnal worker haunting the streets of cities you've never truly experienced because you're too busy being on Slack at 3 a.m. Let's talk about the what if. What if you get appendicitis in a remote part of South America? What if you crash a scooter in Bali? If you're a digital nomad in your 20s, you still feel invincible, but in your 30s, you start to feel the lurking dangers. Standard health insurance doesn't cover you globally, and nomad insurance is often just a glorified travel policy that covers emergencies but not the actual long-term care you might need. You're constantly weighing the risk of medical complications against the cost of premium international private medical insurance. And don't even get me started on the dental work. Finding a reliable English-speaking dentist who won't overcharge you for a simple filling is a whole mission. You're always one bad accident away from a financial catastrophe. There is a myth that because you work from a beach, you have a great work-life balance. In reality, when your office is your living room or a cafe, the boundaries between work and life completely dissolve. There is no leaving the office. You are always reachable. The temptation to check emails while you are exploring a temple is immense. Because you feel like you should be enjoying yourself, you feel guilty when you are working. And because you are working during vacation hours, you feel guilty when you are not being productive. It's a psychological loop of guilt and burnout. You end up working more than the person in cubicle because your cubicle is everywhere nowhere at the same time. Finally, the deepest issue, the lack of a home. Digital nomadism is essentially a lifestyle of perpetual tourism. You are always an outsider. You are never truly part of the local fabric and you are no longer part of your home country's fabric. You're in the weird liminal space, a non-space. You don't have a local spot. You don't have a community that knows your name. You're just a person with a laptop passing through. This lack of place can lead to a profound sense of rootlessness. It's great for the ego, but it's hard on the soul. You become a consumer of cultures rather than a participant in them. So, what's the verdict? Is being a digital nomad a nightmare? Not exactly. It's not, but it's harder than the Instagram reels make it look. It's not a dream life, it's a high maintenance lifestyle. It requires immense discipline, a high tolerance for chaos, and a thick skin for the loneliness. If you want to do it, just don't expect paradise. Yes, the exotic beaches are wonderful, but don't forget logistics, taxes, time zones, and the occasional existential crisis. If you can handle the grind, then yeah, it's rewarding. But if you think it's just coconuts and sunset, well, prepare to be disappointed. Anyway, that's my rant for today. Let me know in the comments, do you think the digital nomad lifestyle is a vibe or a nightmare? Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more reality checks, and now catch you in the next one.
Okay, cut. So, what? Do you want me to cancel our Bali vacation?
No, of course not. For you, my dear, I will suffer countless cold beers under the palm trees.
Ah, suffer,
I love you
yeah.
so much.